Greetings from Castle Goring from Nikki, Aurora, Dima, Misha, and from me. Happy New Year, everybody. So, you guys, do tell everybody what you have been up to, etc., etc. Well, have you been enjoying the Christmas? Have you enjoyed the New Year? Do tell.
Happy New Year, everyone. Well, Christmas was actually alright this year, to be honest, not gonna lie. It was actually alright compared to the last few ones. So, no, it was nice. New Year's been fun, great night, great party. Everybody got drunk, everybody's tired now. I'm tired. It's been a nice year as well. Eventful. Went on a few holidays that were quite nice. Personal ones, really, not like fun holidays. Well, second one was fun.
Oh, do tell about your 30th birthday.
Well, it was really nice. We chartered a boat on in Turkey. It was really fun. We had a few friends come down, some of our good friends. Mum had a friend with her as well, and it was 10 of us in total.
Yes.
On our boat, because a friend came along and we didn't have enough space, so they got their own boat as well, and then brought along their friends. So in total, we were probably 14. It's 14 in total, but the main
with 7 staff, so it worked out very well from that point of view.
One of them actually texted me just now.
Oh yes, he's texted me as well.
Dennis.
Yeah. Yes, lovely young man.
Yeah.
So Dima, do tell about you. What have you been up to?
All good. Working in Cyprus. Been there now 4 years, and working one of the top brokers globally in the top 10. So I've been going very well. Premium client manager, so taking care of events and traveling Europe and meeting some very interesting and exciting people who like to trade. And that's pretty much it. So good to be home. Good to spend some time with the family over Christmas. I hope you've all enjoyed Christmas too. And here's to a fantastic 2024.
Great. Anything else you want to say?
Well, not much really. Like, let's see what this year goes through. Hopefully the electricity bills will go down. That would be nice. You hear that, government? Or whatever it is that deals with that stuff?
No, I think we've got more inflation coming in.
Yes, well,
sorry.
No, but the electricity bills are totally insupportable, and they are crippling people's businesses. And I tell you what else is crippling people's businesses: the congestion charge and ULEZ. Do you know the Europeans have been complaining about the fact that the mayor of London saved up to hit people with, in say, £4,000 worth of fines.
4,000. I know someone.
But the way they've done it, it then becomes like £200,000 worth of fines.
Yeah.
It's a total disgrace and a total scam. And the sooner we get rid of Sadiq Khan, the better.
Complete scum. It's mafia.
Absolute poison. He's reduced London to a third world city, and all the scams that are so typical of the third world he's come up with.
Agreed. Like, no one goes to London anymore unless you really want to, because you have something planned. Like, in this year I've been to London 4 times.
Is that all?
Yeah, and it was just to see for weddings mostly, or birthdays. I have no reason to go up there anymore. When I go up there to have free parking after 6:30 and still have to pay parking on the weekend now after 6:30, it's absolutely disgusting, and I'm not going back up anymore unless to see a friend for a birthday or.
Well, you're lucky your car doesn't attract
ULEZ
and etc. But I gather it's going to start
in
to.
2025, electric cars will also be charged in congestion zone.
So what's the point of having electricity?
You'll just have to
Petrol!
You'll save a bit of money for the next 2 years, and after that, you're done.
Well,
1 year.
Years I'll save.
Well, hopefully by then we'd have got rid of Sadiq Khan.
I don't know about that.
But okay, do you guys have any questions that you think I should be covering for everybody?
I don't know what you guys talk about on this channel, So
See the interest that children have. It's okay.
but I think you should do more merchandise. That's one thing for sure.
I don't do any merchandise.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
You think I should?
Yeah, I'll work my way. I'll sneak my way in for the commissions and help you out.
I do want to say something actually.
Yes.
I am not the person that deals with my mother's videos. So I do appreciate all the messages that come through and everything. But the only thing I can do is tell her. That's as much as I can do. I do not edit videos. I do not post them. I do not work with them.
No, that's
So-
Sean.
Bottom line, this is her life
And
have
her
our own
business.
lives.
Yes, and which is the way it should be. But of course, your
But I
name
do
is still
kind of-
on as having managed it.
Yeah,
Should
Misha,
that-
change it.
I do when I see the messages, even if it's late, because I'm not big social media guy. But when I do see them, I do pass the messages on to her,
Thank you, honey.
so
Thank
she
you.
knows. And I do help out, but I am not the main man anymore since over a year, let's say.
Mm.
So, just if anyone's wanted to know.
Well, guys, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Pleasure.
So enjoy, and I'll check you out later. Okay? Okie doke.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Hope everyone's all right. Thank you and goodbye.
And we will plunge in with other stuff in a moment.
Bye-bye.
Well, to those of you who asked to see Dima and Misha, you've seen Dima and Misha. And now we plunge in with juice and nitty gritty. I am actually going to, first of all, wish everybody a very, very happy, successful, healthy, and positive 2024. And today, I'm not going to do questions. I'm going to cover my royal successes and failures. Okay? So, the royal failures and successes of 2023. The outstanding failures have been Meghan and Harry. The outstanding successes have been William and Catherine. Other failures have been Jaime del Burgo with Queen Letizia of Spain, Prince Daniel of Sweden and his detractors, but it's his detractors, not Prince Daniel, who's the failure. I'm also going to say that Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel have been very successful in handling really very nasty, and I know a little bit about how it came about, so we'll get there ultimately. Awful, that really, I mean, totally uncalled for. Then we have the constant nasty speculation about how Prince Albert and Princess Charlene of Monaco are about to get divorced, and if she takes a few days off because she's cracking up and she's running off and blah, blah, blah. And we'll also have them as successes for having persevered despite the speculation. Other failures have been the rumors that have been expanded about Lord and Lady Cholmondeley, and how that has been handled we'll get to in a little while. And then we have successes Prince Albert and Charlene, who's back to being a blonde, I think is good because they're actually overcoming the nonsense. Then we have outstanding successes of the King and the Queen, Edward and Sophie, and Sarah York. Sarah York. So those are my outstanding successes and outstanding failures. And we are then, after I've briefly covered all of these successes and failures, I am going to break down 2023 as the disaster it has been for Harry and Meghan. But first of all, let's start with Jaime del Burgo, who is the ex-husband of Queen Letizia's sister, Thelma. And it is really outrageous what he has done. He has killed two birds with one stone. He's managed to harm both sisters with the same story, and it is a story. And he has also managed to damage the Spanish monarchy even further by laying the blame for his expose, in quotes, at the doorstep of King Juan Carlos. I mean, the man isn't even around. But, you know, he's come up with a really very interesting way of spiting not only his ex-wife, but the sister who supported her in the breakup of their marriage. As for Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel, I'm not even going to hint at what those rumours are. I will say, though, that envy of his success has been behind a lot of it. I know this from more than one source. I know this from people who are friendly with them as a couple, and I know it from other people who have accidentally crossed paths with various friends and relations of his, some of whom are so green-eyed that they would make Meghan look as if she had never seen or understood what jealousy and envy are all about. The Monaco rumours persist, but I said all along she was genuinely ill, because I also, to an extent, had a similar condition to hers when I was young. And it is a truly dreadful thing to have when your throat seals. It's awful, absolutely dreadful. But she's healthy now. Look at her. She's gained a lot of weight. She's back to being blonde. That should tell you something. And as for the Chumley rumours, I mean, just pathetic, you know. First of all, they had Lady Chumley in the frame. Now they have Lord Chumley in the frame. I mean, ridiculous. I don't want to repeat any of the unsavory stuff. Those of you who are familiar with it will know why I don't want to repeat them. I'm just saying ridiculous. And the stories are failures, but the way they most of them have coped with the aggro, has shown their mettle. The Cholmondeleys have just completely ignored it, which is the right thing to do. The Monacos have simply ignored it, which is the right thing to do. Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel have not totally ignored it, but they have actually shown that there is no foundation for any of these preposterous stories and have continued to function throughout. She's actually very nice. I've only met her for the blink of an eyelid, but my son sat beside her at dinner for her great aunt's 90th birthday party, and he said she was absolutely a delight and very interesting and very clued up. Well, the King and Queen have done a wonderful job. I think most of us would agree with. He is definitely not his mother. His interests are not those of his mother. His interests in some ways are more wide-ranging than his mother's were. I do not think he's as sophisticated a pragmatist as his mother was, but he certainly cares. I mean, Diana used to criticize him for being too earnest. Well, he is a very earnest person, but I think he's been doing a really pretty good job. And Camilla, really, she's absolutely great, really. I mean, she absolutely right touch at all times, and not at all pompous, not at all full of herself, just a nice, kind, down-to-earth woman. Edward and Sophie, fabulous. And Sarah, well, I'm delighted that she has a resurgence. Sarah is very kind-hearted. She is an over-exuberant puppy. And yes, she can be criticized for over-exuberance, for lack of dignity, actually. But she is good-hearted, and I think that counts for an awful lot. And I'm delighted to see that she is getting the reward that she deserves for having been a loyal ex-wife and a loyal member of the family. And now we get on to the juice. Harry and Meghan's 2023 disaster. Well, it started at the end of 2022 with the Netflix show, which really, looking back on it, laid the ground for everything else that was going to come. I mean, Meghan's swan dive of a curtsy was something people remarked upon. The race baiting that went on in that show, the denigration and outright lies about the Commonwealth. Dreadful, dreadful. And remember, a lot of this was made while the Queen was still alive. Can you imagine, had she been alive to see it? Well, that laid the ground. Then, to lay the ground at the end of 2022 as well, in December, the Robert F. Kennedy Ripple of Hope Award was given by Kerry Kennedy to Harry and Meghan, who, according to her, were heroic for the stand they had taken against structural racism within the royal family. They both grabbed that award as if it were made of gold and they were paupers, and exulted in receiving an award for something that a month later Harry said had never taken place. Denialism, flagrant lying, to be less polite about it. And these are all things that the public have become aware of. And I'm going through their year to show you why they have tanked in 2023. January saw the publication of Spare. Should have been called Spare Me. Well, Megsy Baby made sure she let Harry promote that book on his own, so she wouldn't be tainted by any feedback. Harry gave really interesting interviews to Anderson Cooper, Tom Bradby, and Stephen Colbert. In the Colbert interview, he drank throughout. Now, this is somebody who, in the book, more or less admitted he drank and did other things to excess. Well, who ever heard of giving an interview and drinking throughout it? Something suspicious, no? Well, I suppose if you can't powder yourself happy, you've got to drink yourself into some sort of jollity, no? I'm going off what he says in his book, by the way, and linking it up with his performance. Well, the Anderson Cooper interview was really very soft, but all these interviews had to be soft because if Harry had been given a hard time by any of the interviewers, he would have refused to allow those interviews to be broadcast. But remember Tom Bradby's face when he told Harry that Harry had accused the royal family of racism, and Harry said, no, Meghan didn't accuse the royal family of racism, and by implication, nor did he. She never used the word racism. No, she never accused anybody. That was the British press who accused her of having said it. Well, we all heard what we heard. But flagrant lying doesn't get you anywhere when people are looking and think, excuse me, are we supposed to be stupid? February. People magazine asserted that a palace insider, whenever they say a palace insider, it usually means they've spoken to the press office. Whenever they say a royal insider, that means it's Meghan herself or somebody speaking on her behalf. I give you that little clue for what it's worth. A palace insider told People for the cover story in February this year that Harry and Meghan would be invited to his father's coronation. Then they said, putting the boot in, that a source close to Harry and Meghan, Megsy baby, since when did your middle name become Sauce? Oh, sorry. Harry and Meghan's team, let's be polite, said that an invitation had yet to be extended, and there had been no movement towards reconciliation. Well, that's all very good and well. As we now know, there was never a move towards reconciliation. And nobody had yet received an invitation. Harry knows invitations go out 6 weeks before an event. February, March, April, May is 3 months. That's 12 weeks minimum. See the point I'm trying to make? In March, Harry sat down and had an interview, a fireside chat with Dr. Gabor Marby, I think is his name, which was, and he now regrets having had the chat at all. People had to pay, I think it was $33. I mean, the conversion rates are a little bit askew. So I know the pound figure, but I think it was $33. But anyway, whatever, it might have been 25, but I think it was 33. That included the live stream fireside chat with the doctor and with Harry. And he on air diagnosed Harry as suffering from attention deficit disorder, and most likely other things as well, he implied, but didn't get into them. And what was really interesting about that interview, aside from the fact that it is highly irregular for a health professional to be doing a confidential, in quotes, medical session in front of millions of people, or however many looked at it, on television. What was also interesting was that everybody who paid to look at that got a free copy of the book. But the price of the book was more than the price of, I think it was $25. And I think the book was more than, because the book was 24 or 25 pounds in England. So it must have been more in America. But the point I'm making is the book was given away. There is no way, by the time everybody was paid, production, etc., etc., there is no way that the publishers made a penny out of that book on that scene. But it boosted up the figures. So we have yet another failure. And also, it was $25 to watch. That's what it was. And he got lambasted, as did Dr. Gabor. Well, fast forward, same month, Archewell files its IRS tax return, and it is revealed. And it shows that Harry and Meghan worked for 1 hour a week in total, each of them. They had $13 million, according to the accounts, $2 donations, one for 10 million, one for 3 million. They gave away very little. They had interest of $1,000 and something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And everybody thought, well, it's a small-time charity stroke, non-profit stroke, or enterprise non-stroke, and let's cut them some slack. But if you compare that with the last filing, which took place in December of last year, you begin to see serious questions need to be asked as to how is it that several $1 million, according to them, that is available to the charity earns $4,141 interest. I smell something fishy. I don't know about you. Girls, have you been dragging in dead fish from the sea? Is that what you've been doing? No, they say. No, Matty, it's Harry and Meghan's doings that you smell. Well, for the next 3 months, from March till the coronation took place, there was endless speculation fed by Harry and Meghan's people into the press on a constant basis as to whether they would come and whether they wouldn't come, what their demands were, what their demands weren't, blah, 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 blah. And they didn't seem to realize that they were not setting themselves up for everybody to perceive them as victims who deserved sympathy, but they were setting themselves up as perpetrators that people should deplore. But they never saw any of that. Well, we've seen it, which is why their failure throughout 2023 has become progressively more apparent. Well, Harry duly attended the coronation. Meghan couldn't because she had to celebrate Archie's 4th birthday. Such a devoted mother. And of course, Archie will always remember that his mother was with him on his 4th birthday instead of being at Grandpa's coronation. Archie would never understand why his mother should have put a once-in-a-lifetime event before his birthday. Honestly, I tell you, they really think everybody's stupid. Well, Harry attended the coronation and was duly booed. And he was treated like the pariah that he has turned himself into. He was quickly in and quickly out. And that was good. He didn't disrupt it, nor did she. She did the best thing in not coming, actually. And certainly people were mightily delighted that she didn't come. I don't know of one person who actually wanted her here. Not one. Well, Harry was quickly in and quickly out, with much kerfuffle and much drama. A week later, his lawyers launched a second challenge against the Home Office and Ravik because he wanted to be granted security, because he didn't choose to be the king's son. Well, I seem to recall that the late Queen's son, Prince Edward, and the late Queen's daughter, Princess Anne, so equal status to Harry. They don't have all full-time security, so why should Harry have it in the United States of America and worldwide? Why should he? Anyway, that's something that was a bit of an eye-opener for the British people and should be for the American people as well, because you Americans will have to pay for his security if he manages to get reinstated. I make that point for what it's worth. Can you imagine? You're working waiting tables, pushing paper, teaching children English or science, working in stores, being lawyers and doctors, and you have to pay a whole load of tax, and some of your tax money is going to protect that freeloader, because that's what he really would be. However, Harry was very clever, because he made an offer to the court that he would pay for his security, but he required specially trained police officers to protect him while he's in this country. Well, lawyers for the Home Office said, sorry, it really is not appropriate for wealthy people, is the phrase they used, to be able to buy specialist armed police protection. They said, no, that's not how it works. And Harry's lawyers argued that the decision by Ravek was inconsistent with the 1996 Police Act, which allows the chief officer of the police to provide special police services subject to payment. That, incidentally, is where, for instance, if you're having a football match, the police police it, but they are paid to police it. That's not the same thing as a specialist police protection officer having to run interference in case somebody takes a pot shot at that jerk. One is policing tens of thousands of people. The other is providing a human shield for somebody who, if he's exposed himself and deserves to pay the price. Well, so far that trundles on, the case trundles on, but the court found, sorry, Harry, you're not allowed to pay the British police to protect you. I don't know what Harry's problem is, really. He can afford to pay for his California protection officers to come. Oh, admittedly, they won't be armed, but then people in Britain are customarily not armed. So I don't know what the problem is. Still in the month of May, because May was a very busy month, Meghan and Harry and Adoria Aurora, Mickey, please, Marty feels a head cold coming on. Can you go get me some Coke? If I drink Coke, I might actually recover, or maybe I should have one of my pigs flying because of the farcicality of what comes next, because still in the month of May, right after Harry beetles back to LA to see Megsy baby, they go with Doria to New York for Megsy baby to collect the Ms. Foundation Women of Vision award that she was being endowed with. Because remember, Meghan's a great person. Well, Gloria Steinem duly gave her the award, and Meghan not only jumped into one of her typical word salad speeches, but remember, they arrived, Meghan, in a gold lame dress, 3/4 length. At least it fitted her properly, which usually her things don't. And they entered through the Hertz rent-a-car station. Remember that? So classy. Well, I need to read out what was regarded as a dig that she made to the British press. And this was published in the American press. The narrative on repeat that surrounded me allowed me to recognize that part of my greater value and purpose in life was to advocate for those who felt unheard, to stand up to injustice, and to not be afraid of saying what you know is true and what is just and what is right, and to prove the point that veracity is her strong point. Notwithstanding the fact that she was told that they could exit in such a way that they would not be bothered by the paparazzi, which of course they had doubtless tipped off that they were going to be there and where they would exit from. She had to exit from where the paparazzi were. And remember, the following day, the world was treated to the button-pressing rubbish about Meghan, Harry, and Doria had been involved in a 2-hour catastrophic car chase where their lives were endangered as they were driving around the streets of Manhattan for 2 hours at 80 miles an hour. This is in a radius of a few blocks of Times Square. Then you had the taxi driver, because they then got out of their car into a taxi. And the taxi driver said, sorry, nobody was in danger of anything. And of course, anybody who knows anything about New York knows that it was a total lie, because it's not possible to have a catastrophic 2-hour car chase in Manhattan going 80 miles an hour. Well, of course, this helped to make them mocked in the worst possible way. Because guess who then mocks them? Do you remember? South Park mocks them. The Great Privacy Tour. Oh dear, oh dear. Wasn't that a bit of a disaster for them? That really showed that Harry and Meghan had reached such a lowered state of public approbation that they had become figures of mockery. And remember, at the end of the South Park snippet, Harry opens up Meghan and there's nothing there. Very well spotted, South Park. Come June, remember this is now right after the catastrophic car chase, which nobody has fallen for, absolutely nobody. Spotify dismisses Meghan, and one of the top executives of Spotify accuses her and Harry of being grifters. And he makes the point that Harry is brain dead. Well, we need to remember as well that there was a reason why Harry and Meghan, or Meghan, my understanding is that it's Meghan who came up with this, that Harry didn't know anything about this. That's what I was told, that Harry had no idea it was going to happen, and it happened around him as opposed to with his connivance. That followed immediately, a day or two after the hearing and before the decision has been made into the restoration of Harry and Meghan's IPP status and security. So, now I might be cynical, but I would have thought that the reason why she invented that car chase, which never took place, because if you manage to go faster than 5 miles an hour in Manhattan, you're doing well. However, that, of course, was to convince the court that they are so endangered. And also, remember, they linked, or she linked, actually, her people linked the catastrophic car chase to Diana's death. Now, if that's not sordid and cynical, I don't know what is. And people picked up on that. So, having made that point, I will resume my point of June, where Spotify dismiss Meghan, accuse Harry and her of being grifters, and one of Hollywood's leading people says Meghan's a no talent. I mean, now, as I'm speaking, Meghan's people have been putting out the lie that there are all sorts of multi-million and maybe even billion-dollar deals in the pipeline for this year. Sorry. Piggy needs to fly again. Or maybe I should just attach this one to my scarf. In June, Harry turns up at the High Court a day late. He was supposed to be there on the Monday by order of Mr. Justice Fancourt. He turned up on the Tuesday. He said that he had to stay in California for Lily's birthday party. So he just didn't show up. But my understanding is he was in London at Soho House, having a good time. I hope not too good a time. We all know that Soho House can be so accommodating. And we certainly wouldn't want Harry to have too good a time. After all, wouldn't be decorous, would it? Well, Mr. Justice Fancourt displayed displeasure but did nothing about it. Let's note that. This is the action that Harry and others mounted against the Mirror Group newspapers. Out of 147 articles that Harry complained about, he would ultimately only prevail with 15. Do the math. In December last year, so a few weeks ago, when Mr. Justice Fancourt's judgment was revealed, the spin put upon Harry's victory of 15 was that it was a great success. But it wasn't. It was a great failure because he has to pay his own costs and the other side's costs for anything he failed with. So that's June. Harry appeared in court. Harry was very arrogant and decided that everything was due to his phone was being hacked even before he had one. Remember, his phone was hacked before he ever owned a phone. And Mr. Justice Fancourt actually instructed his lawyer to come up with at least one case, which he did. And I mean, pathetic. But it's interesting how failures are presented as successes. But Harry was the first royal since the Prince of Wales, Bertie, who became King Edward VII, had given evidence at a trial. And Prince Bertie's had involved a gambling scandal in the reign of his mother, Queen Victoria. So that was a little interesting and certainly a rarity. And Harry gave evidence for a day and a half. Not very well, but he gave evidence. And the fact he won 15 is, in my opinion, miraculous. I think he should have won about 5 or 6, but then I'm obviously tougher than Mr. Justice Fancourt. Come July, Harry's claims against News Group newspapers got partially thrown out. Another failure. The rump of the case, which involves Hugh Grant as well, is now expected to begin in January 2025. Well, once a lot of his case was thrown out, costs. I'm crying for Harry. Oh, Aurora, Mickey, get Motty some coke. Oh. She wants to douse the flames of grief. August was a relatively quiet month. Meghan and Harry had not been seen together since the beginning of the year. She'd gone to ground. Maybe she was actually helping amid scabies to write his book, Endgame, because certainly a lot of his information came from her, and it is said the information came via Marcus Anderson, but it definitely came from her. And of course, we'll get to that in a moment, but in August, Harry and Meghan had a pre-recorded video appearance about cyberbullying. They were pictured in the garden. She was in her inevitable beige. Remember, the colour that the royal family forced her to wear, and she didn't really like wearing and didn't want to wear, but had to wear because the royal family didn't want her conflicting with their colours. But she's still wearing it. Well, it was a total, this supposed puff piece was really, it went down like a lead balloon. And Ingrid Seward said to Dan Wooten on his show, "They all look very beautiful. It's in their garden, and they talk to these young kids and say how wonderful they are. But it's totally controlled and I think rather unnatural." And Lady Victoria Harvey said it was a PR stunt. She said, "I think it's a PR stunt. It is just to get them some better press because obviously it hasn't been great for them recently. And I think they probably filmed it a while ago." Well, again, another failure. I mean, you'd have imagined that they'd have thought, excuse me, the games we're playing aren't getting us the rewards we want. But no, because they're always right and everybody's always wrong, they continue making the same mistakes. But come September, there are the Invictus Games from the 9th to the 16th of September. Harry arrives without Meghan. There's all sorts of speculation as to whether Meghan is going to go or not. I was told that Meghan had insisted that the hotel be redone in colours she required, and she wanted sheets that were made of gossamer because she's got such delicate skin. And she wanted everything redone, and she wanted to be picked up by helicopter and dropped by helicopter. And I don't know why she would be so why is she so self-sacrificing as to want to be picked up and dropped by helicopter? Surely the wings of an angel would be the only thing fitting for her. Anyway, he arrives. He was okay at first. She then arrived in black. Late to the party, she said, because she'd had to take the kids to school. Talk about contrived. And thereafter proceeded to make a total and gross exhibition of herself, with one public appearance after another being more dreadful than the one before. Do you remember her cavorting in front of the participants as she marches in front of them in a big jacket with shorts that are shorter than the jacket and those scrawny mager leg them and a chicken foot to match, as the Jamaicans would say. And I'm not criticizing her for having bad legs. I'm criticizing her for exhibiting them as if they are good legs, because she has no discernment and she doesn't seem to understand people don't flaunt their failings, but she does. And this is symptomatic of her attitude in everything, because if it's hers, it's perfect, it's fabulous, it's wonderful. Well, it's not. She made a total ass of herself. And then they used the Christmas card of her again in a version of that dress from the Hertz occasion with Gloria Steinem, but this time it was in bluey, greeny aqua. Evening wear in the day. Evening wear in the day. I ask you. And I'm going to speed up because we'll be here forever. In October, Family Guy mocks them as being lazy, money-hungry grifters. And by this time, if people didn't have the message that they were toast to be consumed because they were deserved figures of mockery, I don't know what. Come November, caught again. This time the Mail, and according to Associated Newspapers spokesman, the lawsuit appears to be nothing more than a pre-planned and orchestrated attempt to drag the Mail titles into the phone hacking scandal concerning articles up to 30 years old. Harry, with David Sherborne and Hugh Grant and Elton John, are yet again on a mission to damage our free press. The Mail said these unsubstantiated and highly defamatory claims, based on no credible evidence, appear to be simply a fishing expedition by claimants and their lawyers. David Sherborne, are you here? Are you listening? Your name was mentioned, some of whom have already pursued cases elsewhere. Well, the Mail wanted the entire case dismissed. They said it was outside of the 6-year time limit for legal action, but Mr. Justice Nicklin swept that argument aside because he said that the claimants had a real prospect of showing unlawful acts that were concealed, and that the newspaper itself had thrown the claimants off the scent with their own public statements and reporting. So this was actually a partial victory for Harry and his 6 co-claimants, who include David Furnish, that's Mr. Elton John, Sadie Frost, Liz Hurley, and Simon Hughes. However, Nicklin then really hammered them by saying that they could not use leaked copies of internal documents that had been confidentially supplied by the Mail to the Leveson inquiry in 2012. That was a significant victory, according to the Mail, and it was. And Harry had to pay, I think it was £48,000 to the Mail. And come December, Hollywood Reporter has a go, Kitson has a go, and Endgame is published. And Endgame does a very Meghan thing. It accidentally leaks the identities of the King and the Princess of Wales. accidentally. Well, as far as people on the right side of the divide in this country are concerned, Harry and Meghan have not disassociated themselves from scabies claims, which they could have done, but they haven't. Well, of course, they can't do it, but in justice, they should do it. But why they can't do it is if they did it, Harry will most likely, down the line, do a Tom Bradley. But Meghan can't do anything because my understanding is she is the one who was leaking all that information to scabies, so that she would then be free to do her pity fest and wallow in the mire of how she was taken advantage of by the King and Catherine. Can you imagine that cow, Catherine? She's taller than I am. She's slenderer than I am. She's more athletic than I am. She's good looking without having had any plastic surgery. She doesn't have to straighten her hair. She wears clothes far worse than I do. And she doesn't have tendrils like Medusa the way I do. She's not as fabulous as I am. And everybody thinks she's wonderful. And everybody's mocking me. Why would they do that? They're such fools. Wait until later in this year, because the chickens have come home to roost. Wait until you see the great eggs that are being laid. You wait and see. They are going to be fabulous when we crack them open and make an omelette out of them. I promise you, 2024 is going to be the year of retribution. And yes, it is also going to be the year of redemption. All those innocents who have been traduced are going to gain their redemption. And all those persecutors who have been traducing are going to get their just deserts. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in. And remember, it can be on anything. I'm very happy to speak on anything and address any issue that you find interesting, as long as I feel that it is something within my purvey, so to speak. And thank you. Have a very happy 2024. Godspeed. And if you have really enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care.